Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is a very fun game, and it's also overall very easy to get into. It doesn't get too challenging besides having to learn a few routes for the post-game characters to beat their score battles, but it is overall a very chill time. For some, that's pretty boring. Maybe you crave Bomb Rush Cyberfunk to be even harder. Well, there's two mods that somehow turned this really fun game into an impossible challenge, and it really made me think about how valuable the physics of this game are. This is the No Boost Pack and High Gravity mod, both created by Woodstocks. It sounds exactly like what you think. You're not able to boost or air dash, meaning you can't use your second jump, and you can't go fast on the ground. You also can't use boost tricks. Then there's the High Gravity mod that increases your gravity to make you heavier. The combination of these two mods completely changes the way Bomb Rush Cyberfunk has to be played. I decided to take on the challenge of seeing if I can beat Bomb Rush Cyberfunk with both of these mods enabled. But I wanted to do it with vanilla movement, meaning no movement plus, no wall plant, no quick turning, or no rebound. Just vanilla BRC movement. And here's how it went. So we begin this journey by going through the tutorial, and as you can see from the footage, my jumps are very heavy and I'm falling down like a rock. Once we get our boost pack, we are now tasked to jump over this gap. Now usually you would do the air dash here, but we can't air dash, and we are also too heavy to even get over this gap. Even if you wanted to try and go down and do the ground trick, you're not able to reach that height. So, does that mean the run is already over? Nope. Here's how you can get through the tutorial, and it's very crazy. So, what you have to do here is mess around with these little props down here, and then you have to try and jump on them so you can get up to the top. And it is possible. I actually spent 10 minutes just trying to do this, and eventually I managed to get it. Now, if I had to do this just to be able to clear the tutorial, that already sets a precedent of how the rest of this run is going to go. From here on, the tutorial is actually pretty straightforward. Once you get to the Irene fight, all you have to do to hit her is just do the air tricks, and then, she takes damage. So, tutorial cleared. That's a good sign. After easy clearing the tutorial in the hideout, now it was time to do Versum Hill. And I think Versum Hill was actually pretty easy because there's not a lot of huge gaps anywhere that you gotta really jump for, and there's enough graffiti around the area on the ground for you to get, so you won't have to go out of your way to really get those high places graffiti. There was actually one incident where I went down to the lower area to get one of the graffitis, and I tried to use the fan to jump back, and I wasn't getting much height. So the high gravity is actually also affecting how far the fan sends you. So I was pretty much stuck down here. So what I had to do was pause the game, exit, reboot up the save file so it could respawn me back up top. So now I know for next time not to go down there. But overall, Versum Hill was actually pretty easy to go through. Also, as a bonus, I was able to get Rave, and this is when I learned that it's going to take a little while for me to rack up points just because I can't do boost tricks, which gives you a huge boost in score during the score battles, but that's okay. Next it was the rematch with Irene, and this started to become a slight problem because every time you tried to get nearer to hit her with a air trick, she just moved away. And this happened every time you tried to get close to her. So what I had to do was bait her to get closer to me in the upper area so I was able to get enough height to hit her. From there, the rest of the fight was actually pretty easy. It did take a little bit because I obviously can't just boost into her, but this fight was easy to do. Once I was able to easily clear the crew battle, that was Versum Hill cleared. So far so good. We was able to beat the first area. But then we got to the first dream level. And at least for the beginning, it was looking alright. You know, I just had to get a little more height to get on top of the billboards just so I can get to the next one. But it was overall going okay until I got to this slide, and then I tried to make this jump and I missed. Yes, you actually cannot get to this other ledge. You can't. No matter how many times I have tried to slide down this building, I was able to miss it every single time. And that ledge is grabbable, but Red is not able to grab this ledge due to the high gravity because he's not reaching enough height. So what am I left to do here? I'm practically stuck. Well, there is a way to do this, and it's by doing a nightmare goon. And I tried to do this, but I'm not very good at Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. But it is possible. Other players have been able to do it, and you can be able to do it without boosting. It's just a little inconsistent. But I wasn't able to do it by myself. So in cases where I couldn't be able to achieve getting through the level, I just used the fly mode just to see what else I was able to do. So I'm going to say the entirety of chapter 1 is still possible because of the Nightmare Goon, and that's probably going to be the only way you're going to clear Dream 1. Alright, so now we start with Chapter 2 and Millennium Square. Now, Millennium Square was actually pretty easy to do as well, since you only just require just a small amount of rep just to meet with Eclipse. Now, usually I would aim to get 120 rep for this level, just to be already prepared for .exe, but I'm not able to due to how the high gravity is affecting my physics and movement. And this also applies to ramps and verts, so you can't get as much height as you would like with high gravity. So ramps are pretty screwed, and you can't align yourself because, well, you can't air dash, so you kind of have to make a workaround. But Millennium Square was able to be cleared, and then we got to Brink Terminal, and Brink Terminal is actually also pretty easy to deal with. Most of the graffiti is on the ground. The only hard part was actually getting up to the top, and I found out that this is impossible. I have tried multiple ways to try and get up here, but I just couldn't. There was a garbage can I can use, but it can easily just fall down to the bottom floor. But you know what? I decided not to bother with it because I didn't need it. I just got the required ones that I needed for Eclipse to then do the Escher boss fight. The Escher boss fight was very silly. Now, you cannot jump over this gap to reach Escher's first location. So what I had to do, and please follow me on this, what I had to do was wait for a bus to come my way so I can jump on it to be able to hit Escher. Yes, and that is the only way I was able to hit him. Amazing. The second location was pretty easy because he's just on top of the bus and all you had to do was grind on it. The third one was also pretty easy. It just required some super trick jumps to get over there. It is a little jank, but it worked out. And then from there, I pretty much just got the rest of the graffiti in Planet Plaza, and then I got to fight Eclipse. I cleared that crew battle, and then easy peasy lemon squeezy. Until I got to Dream 2. Clearly, at the start of Dream 2, it is impossible. This huge gap, I cannot reach. I cannot reach. Not even a super trick jump is able to reach here. So this was not able to happen. So I had to use fly mode to get over here. And even if you were able to get past here, your next obstacle would be this giant leap from the fan to get to the other side, which you cannot do without an air dash. And this is where the run actually officially ends. The run officially ends with Dream 2, and you cannot complete Bomb Rush Cyberfunk in vanilla movement with high gravity and no boost pack. So, the run is dead. What can I do? Well, I can still show off what is possible if you were to hypothetically get through this game with vanilla movement and these two mods. So, chapter 3, I still needed the 120 requirement for Millennium Square so I could get to Millennium Mall. But thankfully, I was able to get the rest of the graffiti here because most of them are pretty grounded in this area. I also decided just to say Benny because why not, right? Millennium Mall was thankfully pretty easy. The only real problem I was having initially was this billboard part. That was a little annoying due to the high gravity, but I was able to get it. Getting the graffiti for the rest of the level was pretty easy because everything is so condensed and so close to each other that I had no issue doing any of the challenges either with .exe. So Millennium Mall also ended up being quite a smooth ride until we got to Dream 3. And this one is an obvious one because the only way to get inside of the dream is to boost through this wall. And well, I can't boost, so I obviously can't get through here. And there's nothing around me for me to try and bypass this. But I did learn that there is actually another fish person that you can talk to here, which I didn't know before. So at least that's cool. And then even if you were somehow able to get into Dream 3, you are not going to be able to get past this gap because of the high gravity. There's also this gap, and I mean, come on now, look at how far that is. You know you're not gonna make it. And then there's obviously the trees, which you also can't make. And then there's the police fight, which you can't get through because you cannot boost through this wall. I mean, Dream 3 is literally impossible to complete. There's nothing you can do here. Alright, now we reached chapter 4 and we have to talk to all the Franks. The one in Versum Hill, pretty straightforward. The one in Millennium Square, we had to get a little creative to get to the top, but then obviously there's this gap here and we can't get through that normally. So I had to take a little detour to the alternative route and I was actually able to make it up the top. But then it was time for me to reach Brink Terminal. And if you remember what I said before, we can't reach up to this top area normally. And there's no other way to actually get up to this area. So I was pretty much stuck here. And I had to do the fly mode. I'm sure it is probably possible to launch yourself from a billboard, but again, I am terrible at this game. And then it was just a matter of finding the flesh prints, and that was pretty simple to do. Now the next level was going to be Pyramid Island, and now you would actually think that Pyramid Island would actually be really hard, but no, it actually wasn't that bad. I mean, yeah, sure, scaling it was a little annoying, but I was actually able to get through this level quite comfortably. While I couldn't reach this gap over here, I was able to do this jump to this side of Pyramid Island, and that was my only way of getting to this side of the map. Now, the problem I faced was during the 3 helicopter boss fight. If you remember from what I said about the Irene rematch, every time you tried to get close to the helicopter and hit them with an air trick, they just move away. And that made it annoying. So I had to think strategically again and move them closer to me to reach this upper area so I could have more room to actually be able to hit them. It took a little bit, but I was able to bait them so I can be able to tag them, and it was possible. And then from the rest there, I was able to get the rest of the graffiti to face off against Devil Theory, and I was able to clear the crew battle here. Do I really need to explain why Dream 4 is impossible? Alright, fine. And there were actually some people on the Free Soul server here in Dream 4, and I just wanted to vent out my frustration on why this challenge is actually impossible. So, you could actually get through the beginning part, and then you get to this gap, and it's done. That's it. You can't get through. You're just stuck. And even if you were to hypothetically get past this part, the final section of the dream you can't be able to clear because it involves the verts, and since you can't air dash to realign yourself so you can land on the ramp up here, you're screwed. So Dream 4, not possible. Amazing. Alright, it was time to see if I can at least finish Matan. So initially it started off okay, and I was actually able to get to this part of Matan, but I wasn't able to get back. So I had to quit out, reload my save file so I could respawn to a better spot. And then from here, it was just timing the bullheads. And then, there was the race with Futurism, which was also pretty easy. So I unlocked the first challenge for Futurism, and it evolved wall riding and doing these jumps. So I thought, okay, I should be able to do this one, right? I was very, very wrong. I tried this multiple times to try and get to this one billboard, and I couldn't. I couldn't. Every single time I was just missing it just by inches. I couldn't do it. And even if I were to reach this part, I would have to still jump over this gap in order to be able to clear the challenge, which I can't with the high gravity and no boost pack. It was very frustrating. I finally managed to find the one challenge in one of the main levels that was unbeatable. Amazing. I pretty much had to turn back on air boosting just so I could be able to clear this part of the level. And then the score battle was pretty easy, and then the crew battle was pretty easy. I really didn't want to talk about Dream 5 since that one is also an obvious one that you can't beat. But if you want to know where it stops, it's this jump between light poles over here. And then, even if you were to possibly get past this, you would still need to boost through these mirrors, which you obviously can't do. And then there's just a bunch of gaps that you have to jump that you won't be able to make. So Dream 5 is also impossible. And then, it was time for the full boss fight, and I had to do it the long way since I can't just air boost to his arms. I mean, the long way is the long way. It would just take a little while. But then it was time to hit the hand switches, and this was at the point where I was just pretty much tired of this game. And there were some hand switches I can get at the bottom, but the rest of it I was not able to do due to the verts once again not giving me enough height. So I was like, you know what, I'm just clipping inside the mouth just so I can finally clear this game. And then we reached the final boss of the game, and this was obviously still possible to do. I just had to do the long way, and Bomb Rush Cyberfunk was able to be cleared. I was able to headbutt foe, and then the game ends. Holy moly. That was Bomb Rush Cyberfunk with no boost pack and high gravity with vanilla movement. What else do you want me to say? The challenge is impossible. The challenge ends at Dream 2, but even if you were able to get past it, there would be a lot more hardships on the way that are also impossible to clear. The only way you're going to be able to achieve this challenge is by doing Movement Plus. I think Movement Plus is essential if you want to try and play this game with high gravity and no boost pack, because playing without it is a miserable experience. Now, while I couldn't clear the challenge myself, I think it was still pretty interesting to showcase what could have been possible if it was able to be cleared. But thank you all for watching me trying to deal with this crazy challenge, and I need to rest.